The whales and the sharks of the oceans, they seem to call to me. Though my body remains high on the dry land, my spirits are deep in the sea. Well, the tiger sharks swim their mysterious path. They strike fear in the heart of the man. But the power and strength of these fabulous fish is just part of the ocean's great plan. Well, good afternoon, and I am here. I'm here at TED to dispel some of the myths about this, which is the phenomenal and wonderful tiger shark. Impressive photograph taken by my colleague Choi Ming, I believe. I'm going to throw some names out here, even though this is an international TED conference and nobody will know who these people are, but one day they will. Tim Hasselbring, Jeff Manson, James Cooper, and Choi Ming. Those of them are here. Give them a round of applause because they are the Bermuda Shark Project. Bermuda is a fantastic place to live. If you didn't know it already, we're on top of a 12,000-foot high volcanic seamount, and the earthquake on Monday may give you an indication that perhaps it's less extinct than we thought. How many of you were rocked by the earthquake? Yeah, there we go. 12,000 feet high. Huge slopes to this thing coming up. We choose to travel out to a spot on Challenger Banks about 15 miles to our southwest because it's a steep seamount, and what happens with seamounts is the deep layers of movement of water that is constantly moving around this planet come up against the edge of this seamount, just like the water in a river coming up over a rock. They bring with them the nutrient-rich water from the bottom of the ocean because everything that dies either floats or sinks. The nutrients go to the bottom, but the currents bring them up to the surface. Nutrients come to the surface, they meet sunlight, we get a plankton bloom, and the whole food chain comes into effect. Plankton, small things, big fish, bigger fish. Fish that I like to fish for, tunas and wahoo. So many years ago, I'd be out fishing for tunas and wahoo on Bermuda's edge, and we'd be throwing bait in the water. Pieces of dead fish, bits of other fish. And what do tiger sharks like? They like the dead, the dying, and the dumb. We'll come to the dumb in a minute. So this fish came to the back of my boat while we were chumming, and I wanted to have a good look at him. So if you imagine this is the back of my boat here, I've got a catamaran that's got 2 engines. So I thought it was a pretty good idea. I just get on the back and I put my head in the water like this upside down, and I'm looking at this fish and I fell in. So now I'm in the water and there's a 10 to 12 foot male tiger. This is a male. He's a male tiger shark. Male tiger shark swimming past me, and he looked great. At the time he had some pilot fish in front of him, and he was just swimming, and he's just more beautiful than any fish I'd seen at that time. His circle was not too close, not too far, but it was okay. But as the radius of his circle got smaller and I saw that he was heading towards me, I clambered back in that boat in a hurry with my eyes as big as saucers because I knew for certain that all the fishermen had told me, Neil, if you fall in the water with a tiger shark, you will surely be eaten. This was the law. This was the legend at the time. In fact, people would say, Neil, if you're going to get in the water with tiger sharks, you will not die of natural causes. Well, I have to say, if you're going to re-enter the food chain somewhere other than the top, I think that is entirely natural. So when I do get eaten by a tiger shark one day, I don't want you to be sorry. I want you to say, well, you know, he exactly did what he wanted to do. He went back in the food chain. But if you don't want to be in the food chain, get one of these. Now, they're not freely available at your local Walmart, so Jeff Manson, who's in the middle of that cage, and I pulled together a plan. Originally, I thought of building it out of PVC pipe just to annoy everybody, because everyone thinks, oh, you're going to be eaten. So this one's made of aluminum. And people said, aluminum? Couldn't they eat through aluminum? A tiger shark will come up to a piece of PVC, a stick, anything you put in front of him. If he bites on it and it doesn't feel like a turtle shell or a fish, he's going to go, oh, this is no good. Anyway, the dead, the dying, and the dumb. What's more dumb than 3 people with their back to the cameraman? How do they know the cameraman hasn't just been eaten? Anyway, we are swimming out in this water. For those of you who have not, anyone on TED who wants to come to Bermuda, anyone who sees this, you should know that when I show pictures of a deep blue ocean a limitless deep blue ocean. This is exactly what it looks like. You can swim down 60 to 80 feet in this ocean and stop and turn around. If you've got a good breath hold, you need to play the saxophone and have a good breath hold. And you stop and you float around and look around like this. It's limitless. You are in, we call it being in the blue room. Being in the blue room until he turns up. When he turns up, things tend to get a little, we thought to start with. So vigilance is always essential. You want to be vigilant and you want to pay attention to what's around you. But if we wanted to bring them to the boat, what would we do? Well, we hang choy ming over the side of the boat and we hang the head of a marlin. There's a big game fishery in Bermuda that unfortunately, tragically results in the death of a lot of big fish, but we at least utilize them. This is the head of a 1,000-pound plus fish caught by one of our local fishermen to win a huge tournament, as it turned out. And this is a chew toy for a tiger shark. If you have a cage and you have a cameraman and you have a videographer, you can shoot stunning video. Choi's got a couple of videos, a tiger's tail and my backyard with some footage of tiger sharks taken from 3 feet away. You need to see it. This particular big female tiger shark is chewing on a marlin head as if it's a candy bar. And 3 things. The video, the photos are great, but here's another thing that you may not have thought of. When you're within 10 or 15 feet, you can hear this. To hear those serrated teeth cutting through the bone of the marlin's skull is like listening to a chainsaw going through a sequoia cedar. I'm sorry, well, actually, there is some on the video that you may hear later. We'll come back to that. While we were watching these sharks, up close, up personal, we started to get an awful lot of questions in our head because we would see these sharks all summer. The fishermen would tell us they were there all summer, but where were they in the winter? We'd be out fishing in the winter months. We didn't see them. They didn't come into our chum lines. Where were they coming from? Where did they go? Where had they come from and where did they go? So we were asking these questions and we thought, what we need to do is we'll do a little tagging study. Now, there are a couple of scientists in that group of 5 that I mentioned, Tim and Jeff, and they said, well, we can start tagging these sharks. But initially, if you're going to tag tiger sharks, you can put color tags on them. We put some cattle ear tags on them. We tried following them. We never saw the sharks again locally. So we said, well, let's do a satellite tagging program using satellite tags. Satellite tags are attached to the shark, and they either drop off later or they can be retrieved from or they can be on the fin. How do you go about getting a shark? Well, first of all, you've got to catch him. So initially, we use something like this. And Alan, I'm sorry to say, but I mean, if you bring a fishing rod, bring a big rod. Because I have a way bigger rod than you've got. Anyway, so you need a big rod like that. Or better still, we use that. Better still, you use ropes and buoys because it's better on the fish. This is a tiger shark being brought along boat side. If we go to the next one, we'll see how we restrain it using a webbing strap. And then I go to work with the next favorite tool in my arsenal, which is a Makita cordless drill. And this Makita, can't mention names. A cordless drill. A cordless drill, which has so far placed tags in 36 fish. 36 fish is a lot of tags. And at this point, I should say, Bermuda Shark Project. Well, who were we? Who was the Bermuda Shark Project? We certainly didn't have the funding to do a lot of this. We went to local individuals and local businesses and we got sponsorship. We said, we need $6 grand off you, to be honest. Give me $6,000. Don't give it to a charity. I'm not a charity. I don't want to keep books. Give me $6,000. I promise you I will put a tag in a fish and I'll tell you where he goes. And if I do that for this construction company, for this guy, and your friend Bill has one, you can bet each other whose shark goes further, whose shark goes the nearest to the Caribbean. I sold all kinds of tags. Then suddenly we go from being a bunch of maverick idiots who are going to get eaten. Suddenly people start paying attention. Now we're affiliated with the University of Rhode Island. We're affiliated with Nova Southeastern University. We have Guy Harvey's Ocean Foundation sponsoring us, and we're big time. And the paper that you're about, the stuff you're going to see, the results you're going to see, is getting published in journals, and we have gone truly legit. So this is the first thing we found. These are results of 4 of our fish tagged here in Bermuda. Here they go. They're all Korea, Griffiths, Harry, Lindo, and Katrine. 3 local sponsored sharks. I sponsored the last one. Katrine's named after my wife. And if you think that's mean to name a shark after your wife, I have to tell you, it's the most beautiful shark you've ever seen, and you'll see it later. Where do they go? They all head south. Look at that. They don't stay in Bermuda. They're not Bermuda sharks. Are they Bahamian sharks? No, one of them's gone down to the Virgin Islands. But what they've done is they've all headed south, and this is the southbound carriageway of the Tiger Highway. The Tiger Highway. It's not a 1-lane highway. It's not a 3-lane highway. It's about a 1,000-mile wide highway, but nonetheless, it's a north-south migration. This beautiful tiger shark, her name is actually Nicole. This tiger shark was tagged down in the Bahamas. I went down earlier this year to the Bahamas and met with Jim Abernethy and his crew. They've been studying tiger sharks down there for 20 years. He's 320 days a year. He's on the water or in the water. And we're going to show a little bit about Jim Abernethy in a minute. But here you see this shark. It's become, instead of an open ocean shark, a blue water shark, it's a reef shark. So now you've got a 10, 12, 14-foot long predatory fish swimming around, and this fish is in 10 feet of water. And so people go, oh my God, it's scary. We're going to have scary big fish swimming around in shallow water. Well, we're going to show you that they're not so scary. You've just got to know how to play by their rules. What happens to them after they've spent the winter in the Bahamas or the Caribbean? Here they come. Northbound leg of the Tiger Highway, the northbound carriageway. Whoa, where's this one going? Well, they don't all come back to Bermuda, at least not straight away. They head off into, and I'm going to use this term, those of you who watch National Geographic, I'm sure will know about the shared offshore feeding area, or the SOFA that the great whites like to go to. Well, they're not the only ones who are going to have a fancy catchphrase. Ours go to the Tiger truck stop, because ours are real people sharks, never mind sitting off in a sofa. So here they are, but look at this. I'm going to come off the dock for a minute. Check this. What's this? This is the first shark that a year after we tagged him, thanks to local sponsor Jeff Griffiths, a year after we tagged him, where is he? He's back on the southeast corner of Challenger, exactly where we tagged him. Not only that, but it's not on the graphic, but this year, he's gone all the way back down to exactly this same spot. So this shark has his favorite spots, and he finds them precisely. Next one. You see all that stuff over there? All the stuff over on the right-hand side? We're going to show one more track. Bear with me. This one is named after local legend Dennis Correa. Dennis Correa had a bout of throat cancer. Everyone thought he was a goner. Dennis is a tough guy. Dennis is still around. Dennis is big time in the news. This is his shark. This is Correa. You know how he got there? He got there with a gash in his side that we thought was going to kill him. He got attacked by another shark while he was on the line. Dead, dying, and dumb. The other shark thought, oh, he's dying, I'll eat him. Tore a big piece of his side out, made a mess of his fin. When we went to release him, Choi and I looked at each other and we said, you know, I don't know whether we should put a $2,000 tag in this fish. What if he dies? Guy Harvey says, Neil, if you don't put a tag in it, you'll never know what happens to him. Look at this. Check where he is. This shark is going ballistic. He's gone down to the Turks and Caicos. He's gone all around. He went nearly to Cuba. He's come back again. He's in the middle of the Atlantic. And by the way, I think I have it. Oh, it's in my pocket. This, so far, this fish is still transmitting from August 2009 to current. We're only halfway through him. 5,000 miles in the first year. 5,000 miles of track in the first year. And look at him. He went all the way over to the Gulf Stream, and they said, no, I'm going home. Boom. Right where he was before. A year after he was here, you'll see in a second, a year after he was here, boom, there. A year after he was there, he was 1 mile away. If you'd put a different type of color tag in that fish and caught him a year later, you'd said, oh, tiger sharks are local. He was here a year ago, he's here now, he must just live here. No, excuse me, I think I'll just go on 10,000 miles and running, and that's on one AA battery. One AA battery. Don't you wish you could get this battery for your remote? As you can see, I take these sharks very personally. And this one now is going to be the video. If we could dim the house lights even just a little for the video, because I'm not going to talk much during this. This is the one named after my wife, and you'll see what happens with this fish. When she came into our chum lines, by this time I have to tell you, we were already out of the cage. The cage was long gone. For the last 2 years, we haven't used the cage. Here she comes. This is not her initial approach, but this is what we did see. This is about 35 minutes into our interaction with the shark. by the time she'd swum around us a few times, and we were looking at her not as any nasty man-eating predator, but just as a gorgeous fish. I'm lying, you know, that's the young male, I think. Or is that her? She's coming up anyway. Yeah, here she goes. No, that's her. I see her. That's good. So, hear that sound? Don't you love it? But you know what? By the time we'd had this much time with her, she'd been backwards and forwards to us so many times that I was comfortable doing this. I'm not going to ride this shark. I'm going to swim with this shark. If you look, when I'm putting my hand on her, I'm putting about half a pound of pressure on the fin. She barely knows I'm there. I'm like a remora or a pilot fish with her. And I had prodded her. I'm serious. I had prodded her once on the nose with that stick earlier on because she came a bit close. Look, going to feed. She doesn't care. And I just back off her like another smaller shark would, give her space, straight back to the bait, eating, comfortable. And when I was with that fish, I can tell you that it was immense. This is the other one that was around at the time. We don't care. Because these are not mindless eating machines. Really, they're not. If you are not looking at them and you're stupid enough to pretend to be a turtle dead at the surface, yeah, they'll take your leg off. But if you play shark with them and say, hey, come close to me, I'm going to give you a poke. Or come close to me, I'm going to stare you down. There's a different game. I'm not going to be Timothy Treadwell. As far as I'm aware, I don't want to be Stephen Irwin. But these guys gave their lives, honestly, living passionately. I intend to stay around a lot longer. Joy has reason to believe that we can actually understand what he's saying when he's talking into a snorkel. But here she goes. But just the grace of this fish, when she's moving around, they are truly beautiful. They will capture you. Here she comes, just coming up. And do you see how they bump you? If you're waiting on the surface and a shark bumps you, you've got time to bump him back. Say, "Oi, don't eat me. I'm not a marlin head." And they'll go, "Oh, okay." Here she goes. She's digesting that last piece of stuff. So this shark affected me immensely. Katrine, we name them. We say in one of our videos that we're not trying to make him cute and cuddly. To be honest, we are. That's Katrine chewing up the piece of marlin that she's eating the head of. Beautiful looking fish. The line like a sports car. My wife's Swedish and is fine looking, but the two of them, it's a toss-up. Jim Abernethy's been having one site in the Bahamas at Tiger Beach. You've probably heard of Tiger Beach, where he's been feeding sharks, and some people will dispute the value of feeding sharks. Okay, is that me? I'm down to 0. Okay, run it.
I wanted to dispel the mentality of the rest of the world thinking that they're monsters. I have that opportunity because of my relationship with Emma. I mean, she basically follows me around everywhere I go down there. You can see that this supposedly very dangerous creature wants nothing to do with me as a food source. In fact, it's very much like your dog swimming up to give you a kiss. It's the same kind of creature. And I find it very sad that we will allow I find it very sad that we allow, let me start that again. I find it unconscionable that we allow people to mistreat animals in the ocean like we would never even think of animals on land.
I'm trying to hold it together right now. The first time I saw this on the boat with Jim, I had tears running down my face. There were 3 of us in the room, all had research experience with sharks, all had time with sharks, and we were all a mess seeing how this shark has affected this man. What is my goal? What is my message? What do I want you to do? I want you to stop treating sharks like they're something you can cut the fins off, use as bait, do whatever you want to do with. Start thinking of them as something else. Start thinking of the tiger shark. You saw that. The Bahamas doesn't own them. Bermuda doesn't own them. The Virgin Islands don't own them. They own the Atlantic. You saw how they roam. They own the Atlantic. They own the Sargasso Sea. There's a Sargasso Sea project being started up right at Bermuda. Make the tiger shark the ambassador for the Sargasso. In fact, make the tiger shark the ambassador for the Western Atlantic. And you'll see the message on the shirt. I don't even have to say it. We may cut off her fins or use her as bait. Many kill her for sport, so they say. When the tigers have gone from our oceans for good, it will be such a sorrowful day. Well, we've heard the phrase, let's save the whales, but it's time to add a new mark. Along with the polar bears, the great apes and whales, it's time to save the sharks. Come on, singers. It's time and it's time and it's time. It's time and it's time and it's time. All of you. It's time and it's time and it's time and it's time. It's time to save the sharks.